All right, let's get started with the meeting here. Welcome to this month's meeting of the Nebraska, Iowa in-person Zoom meeting. MUFON's all about the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. As the world's oldest and largest UFO phenomena investigative body, we aim to be the inquisitive mind seeking answers to the most ancient question, are we alone in the universe? Got some humor here now. This is an AI generated picture. It's kind of a Christmassy picture for it. Yeah. Yeah. And then here's another one of this is how they get Santa gets around so fast. He's got an alien pulling Rudolph pulling his sled. Yeah. Yeah. And this is what I thought it would help us blend in. So that's the end of the humor segment today. The Nebraska MUFON team's Kyle Finley, state director. Fred Ziwi is assistant state director and ERT rep. Tamara Steyer is chief investigator. John Barta, field investigator. Maxwell Hobbs, field investigator trainee. We got Dave Paris and Jack Casher as Dr. Jack Casher as consultants. I'm Greg Anderson, state director for Iowa, and my team is Dave Kreider is chief investigator. Larry Moore is field investigator. Beverly Moore, Keen Tiedemann, and Marty Burrows are all field investigators. Here's some stats for this month or to the year. We've had 26 cases. It's been a slow year, and 19 for Nebraska. Kind of a monthly chart showing the same thing. And then another one showing going years back. So you can see the trends kind of down as except for last year, Iowa had 53 and now we're only half that. And that has to do with CMS and some other things that have gone on with in the system with MUFON that's reduced the number of cases. Yeah. How about you want to talk these? Yeah.
One thing that was brought up in our Thursday meetings we do every once in a while is doing pulling information from the MUFON CMS database. So one thing, if you're like a member and you log in there, you can see all the cases. You can also just click and copy like any segment of information that you want. So what I've been doing in some of my free time is just grabbing the information and then doing a disposition overview and just putting this on the one big old Excel spreadsheet. So eventually, maybe I'll have a lot more in there. But to start with, I just wanted to do, Nebraska, then Iowa. Then I'm like, well, I'll look around the Midwest, get a few other places, and just kind of put them together. So this one here shows Nebraska. This is from 1995 to 2024. That's all the information in the CMS MUFON database. And it just kind of shows the breakdown. Wonder if I can do a laser pointer somewhere. I use a mouse maybe. Okay. Anyway, so here we have the number of cases and then the percentage next to it, and it's kind of broken down into these things. These colors are different, I think, than the other ones. Now I need to go on.
Click on the slide.
Yeah, I activated the other thing. Yeah, so this one here, that's showing the same chart. I changed the colors, though. I wanted to standardize these colors. So IFO is always blue. The unknown is what, we're looking for. That's always in the bright orange. So here's the 95 to 2004. So I guess this here's all the data. So it shows all the cases, 23, 24, 307 unknowns, 109 IFOs. And then we could look at what we got in 2024. This is just this year. With one hoax, one information only, and you kind of see the information differences, which this is showing for Nebraska, we're getting a lot more IFOs than we have in the past, basically.
SpaceX.
Yeah, SpaceX probably accounts for a lot of that.
The balloons.
Yeah, and balloons. And then one other thing is that maybe we'll look at the next meeting, but I was breaking it down by kind of like 10-year segments. So like 95 to like 2009, that was before I got here. And then 2009 up to 2020, and then 2020 to now, is to kind of see the difference, before COVID, after COVID, and before, we got started here at the university and stuff. So here's Iowa. Iowa, they had 0 hoaxes this year. And then, over here, so the green is the hoaxes. They had 41 cases. This is all time on the right. And they also had, unknowns go down a bit. IFOs went up a bit, and insufficient data also went up. So that's it for Iowa. This is Missouri. So they have a lot of unknowns. And I don't have them on here, but another thing we can compare is like go between the states. So you could look at, this is back to Iowa. If we look at all time, they have about 50% of their cases. And you can see Missouri has 56%. So they have a lot more unknowns over there. And then their percentage, about the same. So we see across the board, unknowns kind of going down, and IFOs, insufficient data, Yeah, and then, we could also look at the cases. So they have 1,600 unknowns, and Iowa's got 443. And then Nebraska has 307, So on scale, they get a lot more cases. Yeah, more than both of us. And that'll be it for now. The other one I was looking at, I have North Dakota, South Dakota, kind of look at those cases. That'll be in the future. And then Kansas was one I was putting together, but I realized this year they only had like 1 case disposition done. So I'm like, well, I can't really do anything with that data. I'm out helping them out. I think a lot of people are. Any questions on these dispositions? Anything that people would like to see in the future? Going once, twice, sold.
We'll get back.
These stats are the same as last month. They haven't come out with any new stats. Showed Nebraska at 22
In the lead.
in the yeah. So MUFON News, we got Dave McDonald, the executive director, saying, as we approach the end of 2024, I want to take this opportunity to reflect on our year and share my gratitude for all the incredible efforts and dedication. So that's his Christmas message to us. Yeah. So start the case review here. This one was in Alberton, Iowa. It was an insufficient evidence case, is what I put it in, and it happened on November 20th, and lights in the sky near a radio tower. Now, one of the reasons that I put this as an insufficient evidence case was that my witness, I called her, and when I called her back, she didn't like the way I sounded. And she said I was rude. And so so she didn't want to talk to me, and then she blocked my phone number. Okay. So, yeah. And yeah, really. Yeah. So this next one happened on November 21st at 13:30 in Carson, Iowa. It's a large shadow on ground and no obvious source. They observed a circular shadow on the east side of the highway moving from the east to the southeast as they were driving north. The passenger did not see anything in the sky that would have caused the shadow, and the other witness was busy driving and had no time to check the sky. And essentially, they were driving north on the highway, and they said it was a clear day and stuff. They couldn't see anything, and they saw this shadow off to their right, and it was going forward. Well, the witness, like again, the sun was at a 25-degree angle elevation, and it was to the southeast at that time. And the object was east, then southeast as it moved. So it moved from across the sky. and the wind was 17 miles an hour out of the northwest, and this would have been the correct direction to push an object to the southeast. This would also have put the object behind and to the left of the witnesses. This would have made it possible for the passengers, would have made it impossible for the passenger to see anything in the sky, and the direction of the objects was out of their sight line. The driver also would not have been able to see if it was also out of their sight line. I think that it had been a lone cloud, but the witness said the sky was crystal clear and the shadow was perfectly spherical. So this adds some doubt to it being a cloud, and therefore I called it an unknown other, although in my heart of hearts, I still think that it was a cloud, and it was definitely behind them, and neither of them would have been able to see the direction as they were driving. So, yeah,
Oh, there's a shadow on the ground.
yeah, right. So, and I don't think, Marty, are you there? Oh, Marty. Okay.
No, sun. Sky.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, definitely wouldn't have been a shadow coming from straight down because of the sun angle. So, yeah. All right. This one, case that handled by Marty Burrows, and the synopsis is on Monday, September 23rd at 2024 at 19:05 hours. The witness had stated that he observed a very bright object traveling east in the sky with an estimated altitude of 1 mile over Scott County Park. The witness further observed that the object appeared to be of chevron shape, and the witness further stated that he was traveling in his truck westbound on 270th Street that runs adjacent to Scott County, and that the object was flying eastbound. He noticed different lights on the bright but yet dark surface with 3 to 5 underneath colored lights. And he gave an estimated speed of the object of 30 miles per hour. And the object was under an overcast sky, and it was approximately 3 minutes, seen 3 minutes by the witness. And then what's it? All right. Then his synopsis was the witness was able to get a 46 second video of the event. However, he did submit the initial video along with 3 screenshots and the video itself. The video through use of the xinfo.org app, it was confirmed that the video of the object was captured via the witness's phone on September 23rd, and at that time he relayed it. It was determined at that time the exact location was a small one-prop Cessna C-172 Skyhawk. Was traveling eastbound from Scott County, and due to low cloud ceiling and overcast sky, the Cessna did have its required lights on. The Cessna was hangared out of the Moline Airport. Also, further investigation revealed the Cessna appeared to be on a pleasure flight of pilot training due to the course in its path. And he classified it as an unknown other. And then there's a video. Here's a close-up picture of it. Here's the video they took. Yeah, it's like coming up. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah. Yeah, there's a light right here that you can barely see. So there's not too much to the video. Yeah.
saw some blinking light.
Right. Yeah.
Said it was like radar that.
Yeah, he on Flight Radar 24, he found that it was a Cessna. Mhm. Let's see. Dave, you want to take over
Yes,
on your cases?
sure. First case on the 15th of November of this year, about 6:14 p.m., a Dubuque, Iowa witness and his friend witnessed a bright white yellow light moving steadily across the sky from west to east. And from the witness description of the sighting, I immediately suspected that it could be the International Space Station. But checking the Stellarium website, I did not see a pass to the ISS, but I did discover that the Xiangdong Chinese space station made a visible pass over Iowa at that time and date. And I noticed that the space station faded out when it was nearly overhead because it was no longer illuminated by the setting sun. Greg, first image, please. That's the Chinese space station. And next image. There's the crew. The witness said that the object vanished when it was about 70 to 80 degrees above the eastern horizon. And that coincided with the point at which the space station would have crossed into the Earth's shadow. And here I tried to depict the station passing into the Earth's shadow. But he was curious as to why the object seemed to wobble, and I offered the explanation that it was probably due to autokinesis, the almost imperceptible autonomic eye movement that makes a distant object appear to wobble when there are no points of reference to judge the distance. And he seemed to accept that explanation. And so I gave this case a disposition of IFO man-made Chinese space station. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
I want
questions
to
about
point
that?
something out here, Dave. We found out that with Stellarium that it actually showed the Tiangong going along, and then it shows it disappearing. So you can see when it goes into the Earth's shadow. So it's kind of interesting that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time period of seeing, where it's gonna be going across the
Yeah,
sky.
right.
Astroview.net
All right.
on the ISS. We got both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Next, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. This next case is also from Dubuque on November 13th, 2024. That's of this year. At around 8:21 p.m., the Dubuque, Iowa witness and her daughter were headed east on Pennsylvania Avenue. Greg, you want to put up the image? Yeah, you can see Dubuque there with the red marker, and then the yellow is where the witness was. And then the next image. Okay, this was her path in her car. She's driving east, and she saw a blinking, pulsating, soft white light in the sky moving from north to south. So it was moving perpendicular to her direction of travel. The main light was surrounded by three variously colored lights forming an equilateral triangle. And the witness included a drawing in her case management system report. Greg, you want to show that? Next image. This is her drawing. I always like it when a witness will do a drawing or, an image of some kind. So that's really helpful. And though I was not able to contact this witness, but I had enough information from her report to come to sort of a speculative conclusion. The witness initially observed a pulsating soft white light during an overcast night with light rain. But as it approached from the north, headed in a southerly direction, she and her daughter, who was the passenger in the car, could now see the soft white light surrounded by three various colored lights, as shown here. Speculating, it's possible that the three surrounding colored lights were not initially visible to the witness because they were inset. As it approached overhead, she and her daughter would have been able to see all the colored lights, including the soft white light in the center. And speculating once again, the low cloud ceiling of only 681 feet might have obscured the physical objects, causing them to see only the lights and not the object itself. It might have also caused the softening appearance of the central light. Next image, please. And this is sort of a depiction I did of what the object might have looked like, just above the cloud cover. So I gave this case unknown UAV. Any questions on that? Okay. Yeah, next case. As you probably know, Kansas City got way behind in their investigation of cases. In fact, they had 80 backlogged cases. And so I joined the Case Assistance Group, or CAG. We got to have those acronyms, And so I agreed to, at one point, to do 2 cases a month. And so I'll give you these 2 Kansas cases. On August 10th, at about 5 a.m., the primary witness and his friend were driving east on I-70 near Kansas City, Kansas, when they spotted an extremely bright light in the east-northeast. The duration of that sighting was only 3 to 5 seconds. In a phone conversation, the witness stated that he and his friend were returning from the Hollywood Racetrack Casino on August 10th. This is 2022 now, just before sunrise. The primary witness was in the passenger seat of the car and his friend was driving. And this bright light covered a large expanse of sky, filling up most of their field of vision. Next image. So this is their route. They just come from the casino. They were headed east. You see the circle there. That was about where they were. And the primary witness said that the object he thought it was only about 1,000 feet in altitude and as large as 3 football fields. The object made no sound. He noted that he believed that the object was cloaked and then briefly became uncloaked, at which time they could see as many as 100 lattice-like structures on the side of the object. Next image. So I tried to portray what they might have seen, and there would have probably been a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more structures. He said they were almost like window panes, that you would see. And then the object then rotated vertically, rapidly accelerated vertically into the sky, and was perceived to get smaller and smaller until it disappeared from view. He said that there were other cars on the highway and believed that most of them would have had to have seen this object. And he said, despite the fact that, this was 2 years ago, he remembers it. He often thinks about it, often. So, and I asked the witness. I said, could you give me contact information from the other person who was driving, the other witness? And he was all about doing that. And he says, yeah, I certainly can send that. Well, it never happened for who knows what reason, but he said that the second witness had many unfortunate things that happened to him, including his house burning down. So, of course, I didn't try to press him to get more information, or the contact information from the second witness. And we did check flight radar 24, and there was a low flying airplane coming out of the downtown airport out of Kansas City, but it did not fit the witness's description at all. So I gave this case a unknown UAV. Any questions on this one?
And so is the base white? Is that correct?
Was it white? What color was it,
Yeah,
Dave?
it was a white light, and it had all these structures. It looked like, almost like window panes. Okay. Any other? Okay. So the last Kansas case. By the way, both of these Kansas witnesses were really good. Very helpful. They wanted to talk about, what they saw. And so it's kind of fun doing these cases. Anyway, so this next case happened August 3rd of this year. A Leavenworth, Kansas witness was on his back porch looking toward the sky when he noticed a bluish white, slow-moving object traveling east to west. He said that the object or light was moving very slowly from east to west and that it had a very faint bluish white tail. It then seemed to hover for a second or two, and then it appeared to him that it either went straight up or turned north. And Greg, you want to get the next image? Now, I had to, on both Kansas cases, I had to ask Greg for help on the flight radar because he has the gold version, which goes all the way back, I think, to the Wright brothers. And no, not really. 3 years. And mine only goes back, I think, 3 months. So thank you, Greg, for that. And there was no aircraft in the area at all where they were. So they were up there north and up by Fort Leavenworth up there. Or not quite that far, but a little bit down further. Yeah. Anyway, so I initially thought that you might have seen a meteorite, but this did not fit with the evidence for several reasons. First, as reported by the witness, the object was moving slowly, and of course we know that meteorites travel at great velocity. Second, the witness stated the object changed direction, either ascending or moving to the north, neither of which is meteorite is capable. And third, the witness sent a photo that he said looked exactly like what he saw. Next image. And so that doesn't look like a meteorite streaming through the atmosphere to me. And it wouldn't, of course, change directions or, ascend, So, and by the way, this image was a MUFON image. And so I asked them, I said, could you give me the case number or the time, the date of when that happened? And he could not. So I couldn't really do any further investigation on that. and it wasn't clear to me whether this was an object or just a light, so I closed it as an unknown other. Any questions? Okay, that concludes what I've got to say.
You guys want to talk about this one?
Just the Grand Island one?
Grant, yeah. Behind it, maybe, I'm not sure.
There,
Yeah.
all right. Well, this case is got the case and found out that it was strictly a ERT case. She had labeled an event that happened to her on November 21st, thereabout on the 24th of 2001. So this is a historical case. And she was living in Grand Island, Nebraska. And so as our cases come in now, that comes into us and Kyle is assigned to the case, and we have to investigate if it was a sighting, like a UFO sighting. And since there was not any, I asked Kyle to just give me I'll do both sides of the case, the sighting as well as the ERT. Well, she mentioned this thing. I wanted to focus mainly on what she had a sighting, or she was working that day. She worked from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So as a overnight, she was a security guard. As you can see right around this area right over here, this is a Case International Harvester plant, and right here is the Case New Holland plant right here. And she was a security guard, and she would do rounds, every hour she'd go walk around the grounds right in this business of hers. Again, she was a security guard. So she got there at about 6 p.m. and she was messing around, and while around 9 o'clock, she said she was at her desk. She was doing some desk work, and she was doing some logging reports. And she said, well, you can look outside, and you can see things outside her window and things of that nature. But all of a sudden, she just says, I'm looking down at my reports, and I started looking up, and she said she thought she heard the door open up. This person walked in, and all she could remember was that I saw Adidas tennis shoes and tattered jeans. And then she lost consciousness. And so she went on and on about knowing. So I would say, okay, that's fine. I'll take it as that for right now. But then she said, oh, yeah, I woke up at 5:55 a.m. the next morning. So she's gone from 9 o'clock. She was talking back and forth all over around, so I had to slow her down. She was like Miss Crazy, And so she was kind of a difficult to do an interview because I'd have to stop her, or, let her talk, but she'd miss all the things I, as a reporter would want, or an investigator. So I'd have to ask her questions. So as soon as she said, yeah, and he says, so I got her time, 6 to 6, in the morning, that she was at her desk doing this report. And then she said, I lost consciousness, and all I saw, I was looking down, and I just peeked up, and all she saw was the Adidas tennis shoes and tattered jeans. And then she lost consciousness, and she didn't wake back up till, again, 5:55 next morning. So that's a good 9 hours that she's out. And she woke up sitting in her chair with her feet propped up on the desk. I'm like, that's pretty strange. I'm just looking at this as an abduction, as a possible abduction. But then she started reporting about, she moved to Hastings, Nebraska, because she felt like all these ETs are around her, and she's freaking out, and this and that, going back and forth, and then she's trying to get away from Grand Island, so you moved to Hastings. There in Hastings, she started seeing these ETs, she said. They're not the grays, but they weren't the grays, because these were, like she said, were taller beings. but they would come down out of the sky, right? And then like, I kind of gave her a story about my little vortex story, you know, to get her in the construct. And she said, well, yeah, they came down in these little, you know, vortex down to, and they go into the trees and they would hide in the trees, right? And then she said, there's like 30 of them. And then they'd come down to the ground and they would come up close to her, but they would only come up so close to her, you know, and then she guys says, well, then I got really good at this, you know, she says, I got more sensitive. And then at one time she said, one night they came down, they came in the trees, came down. There were 100 or more of these guys. I'm like, I'm starting to think, you know, and I had a case with another case, like a ERT case. And I was with Dennis, a friend of mine, and it was the same thing. And I said, Fred, you know what this is? He says, no, what is this? He says, this other case I was on said, this guy's a meth head. He's tweaking. And this way he's talking, just the way he's imaginating, you know, all these things, they're in the trees and they're down on the ground. I go, oh, okay, I get you, you know, so I'm looking at this case too, you know, where she reports this. And then she said, there was another time where she saw a gray across the street. I'm like, really? And so she described it, you know, described just like a typical gray. And she said it was across the street. And I said, well, how long was that gray across the street? How long did you observe it? She said, oh, about 10 minutes. For me, you know, when I've had my abductions, you know, most of my experiences last within, you know, 30 seconds in the, you know, to a minute, you know, for her to see this gray across the street for 10 minutes, I thought, nah, that's not good, you know. And then all of a sudden she has all these other, I mean, if she's had some sightings and things of that nature, her stories just don't resonate with me, you know. And then I almost feel like if she was into drugs, you know, I'm hypothesizing, I'm just throwing this out. Maybe she was out partying, you know, early before going to work, and maybe this person knew her, and maybe she was maybe a possible another drug friend of hers, and she took some sort of drug rape, you know, that she would knock herself out like that, you know. And that this being knocked out like that, I felt like it was more of a drug-induced experience, you know, rather than an abduction, you know. And for going 9 hours, she said, I said, when she woke up, she says, were you sleepy or dozy and sleepy or drowsy, I should say. She said, no, I was just kind of high anxiety. And I go, oh, and he says, well, you know, I do take drugs for my anxiety issues. So there's another possibility of the medication. So she's evidently on some sort of medications for psychological and, you know, mental capabilities. So some of this might be being drug induced, you know, and things of that nature. So that's kind of, I've gone on with this process, you know. All of her stories with the 100, seeing the 100 ETs coming forward, like little, so I said, ever heard of elementals, you know? I mean, I'm getting kind of deeper down the rabbit hole. And she said, no, I don't understand that. I talked about one of my cases where I felt this euphoria, and I kind of told her, I said, you know, I said, this euphoria was so sky high. I said, it was better than any drugs I've ever taken. And she kind of giggled. So again, that kind of tapped me on the shoulder, like, this girl has done drugs before, because she kind of giggled at my drug thing. Yeah, Dave. No.
Wow.
And she was scurrying, you know. She says, I was, again, her anxiety level went right up, you know. I said, no, I wasn't sleepy, I wasn't drowsy. My anxiety was maxed out because I'm, you know, guys would be coming into work, and the other the day crew is going to come in, right? And so she's scurrying, trying to get her papers and all her logging. So she didn't do any logging through that night at all.
So she made up the material.
Possibly, you know, to say, but she said she was knocked out. And the other thing is, she's sitting down in her seat and her legs are propped up. What's that kind of pointing to? I don't know, you know. You know, I have no idea about that one. I said, why? She said, she says, that's really unusual for me to be sitting in my chair, my legs up on the desk. You know, and I'm like, eh. And I just kind of felt It's kind of an intuitive hit that there was a, yes. I didn't think about anything about the radio or because she's by herself. She's the only one on, she's by herself. And so she goes and does the rounds. As you can see, this is a pretty large, area, that she does on this plant. Again, it's a case of New Holland and the International Harvester plant, on case. So I don't know if she's required to go all around there. She might have a truck that she drives around, or I don't. Well, supposedly I don't think it's locked. No, she's just there. I don't know. Well, that,
Western Nebraska, right?
yeah. This is Grand Island. You forget. No, no, but it's just the idea that when she first just said, I'm looking there, I'm down looking at my papers, on the desk, and all of a sudden she heard somebody come in and she just kind of poked her eyes up, and all she saw were now what she identified Adidas tennis shoes and tattered jeans, and then she was knocked out, where she lost consciousness. I've never seen any aliens with Adidas tennis shoes on, and I've never seen any aliens with tattered jeans on. That's pretty descriptive, that. Yeah, and again, they came out of the sky. They hid in the trees, and that's where my friend Dennis said, "Nah." They were tall. They weren't, beings. They were kind of. Oh, she said they were cloaked. That's the other word. She said all these other beings were cloaked. Well, again, she just thought she saw them coming forward, and
Cloaked like invisible or cloaked like they had a cloak on?
Well, she was cloaked. Again, like you say, I think again, like she could sense that they were there, but they were cloaked, so they couldn't see them.
Okay.
No.
Oh, I'm just curious about the door.
Yeah.
Because warehouses have either keyless entries or when you open the door, it registers who's there.
Right. Well, this is 2001 now. Okay.
Stuff way back then.
Yeah.
But if this is a manufacturing plant,
Right.
a lot of high-priced items.
Well, I don't know if it's a manufacturing plant. It could be a manufacturing plant, or it could be just that they. Yeah, this is a case in international officer and new harvester. Yeah.
You're talking millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, I know. That's why she was the.
Video.
Yeah.
Down the desk,
True.
monitor stuff.
True.
And was there a key entry that when the door opens, it registers somebody was there at this time?
I would think so, yeah.
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 I mean, I'm just saying, it would lock in her,
I can call her back. I can call her back.
it would just be interesting.
Yeah.
Find out if there was that.
But I have never seen a case where aliens were wearing Adidas tennis shoes and
Could be street memory, but
I know, that's what I'm saying. But,
they're in the way of-
true, the latest fashion. But usually they float, they don't walk, they float across the floor and things of that nature.
Illustrate that maybe this is different.
Yeah.
I'm just saying is that you've got a couple of other pieces of information, either verified or makes this person insane.
Right.
Somebody said, well, that is not a hallucinogen,
Okay.
nor is anti-anxiety medication. So I hate to, just because the story seems a little dysfunctional itself.
Yes.
Kind of all over the board, I hate to just, say, oh, yeah, she's drunk, because there is that case, a pretty famous case, where the man and wife were camping in the Mojave Desert. It was their first night there. And all of a sudden in the desert, they saw like 10,000 sets of eyes.
Right.
coming toward them. I don't even remember. I think it's like incident. I don't know, but I mean, so I'm sure that was nothing more than like what they do in the movies where you've got a row of 10 soldiers and you can make it appear like there's 10,000 soldiers, you know?
Right.
I think that it's possible that something like that could have occurred. But yeah, I don't think she should just be written off as a drug addict, but the way that you're describing her disconjointed storytelling, that does very much fit with an anxiety.
Right. Yeah, taste. Yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of people have anxiety, you know, anxiety, panic attacks, you know, and things of that nature from abductions, you know, and her moving to Hastings, you know, I said, and she finally figured out I can't move away from it because it's always around me. Go ahead, Russ.
She was afraid she'd be accused of, you know, information going overboard, and on something. So in other words, she didn't do the usual thing because she was fearful for how it would be.
Right. And again, she probably just cleaned up her case, you know, and did all the paperwork real fast and cleaned it off, you know. Right. And she didn't, and I'm sure she didn't tell her, you know, her boss and things, anything that, oh, I just was knocked out for 9 hours. So that's right.
But instead she shut that down.
Right.
Because why?
Well, again, I think a lot of people would say she's crazy, you know, and things of that nature because of her other, you know, I guess the only other thing she talked about her son says, yeah, mom, I've seen these, you know, since I've been a kid, you know, all this stuff, you know. So that's the only other side of it, of that story as well. So. Right.
Like something like that, you know.
So his son was seen it too.
Pardon me?
His son with it.
Not of this case, but she saw other, other beings, you know, things of that nature. So again, it's just kind of a combination of the family. So anyway, it's kind of like insufficient evidence and things of that nature. Or I said something of one of the other case dispositions on this case. No, I don't know what she did in Hastings, but then she moved back to Grand Island. Now she's been cleaning. She's a house cleaner, and she hires a couple of guys. So now she does industrial cleaning in Grand Island. That's her job right now.
Did she get fired?
Okay.
That would mean that on the Hastings, she couldn't get a security job again.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but she said she'd been cleaning houses most of all of her life. So she had, I know, but this is a 12-hour job. Right. I get you. Thanks for the insights.
You guys get dispositions on that or not?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. This is a very fast, there was a rapid close case. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, okay. This is a rapid close case, and this was one that we got a nice video of, and said there was a vertical light. So everybody take a good look at that. What's your insights? Aliens. Yeah. So we'll say it again. Susie wrote in straight line of lights, but they were horizontal. Then I looked up Starlink, you know, launches, and there was a launch. He saw it at 5 a.m., and they had launched 24 Starlink, one Titan up with 24 Starlink satellites about 8 hours prior, around 9 o'clock that night. So again, they were closely knit together. And I said, well, this is a case close, rapid close case. I think it's a Starlink. And Starlink they've been launching every other day or every day for the last 2 weeks in November. And they went into December. They were launching I was going to say a shit ton of them. There were. I mean, every night, and some of them they were launching two missiles, one out of Florida and one out of California. And they were launching them, every day, and then they'd skip a day and then launch another one, and there must have been at least half a dozen launches within, a 10-day stretch, And this one was the next day, I think I said November 14th at 8:22 a.m. Was a launch of these 24 satellites of SpaceX Starlink. So we got on the website. Yep, it corresponded, and it kind of matched the same thing I saw looking at the western sky. I was driving my motorcycle out of Council Bluffs, looking at the western sky, and I saw these lights in the straight line going across the horizon. And I wrote Kyle and Tamara, I said, well, we're going to have some cases up because I just saw this Starlink. And sure enough, we got 2 cases that next day. And I said, I saw them. And so basically, yeah.
But why would launch? We get one in Florida.
Yeah, this one's let's see. I didn't say it's 8:21 a.m. and I might have been out of Florida. So it zips around and they're really clustered together when they're really close together. And then it takes time. And then again, Starlink, it takes well over a month or 2 months to finally get the full altitude. Even though they're low altitude satellites, it takes another several months to get to altitude, so they're already. Yeah. So that's why our 2024 cases have been a lot of IFOs because of this type of situation. A lot of, well, they do. Initially, they're very, very close together. So this is only, so it's been over a day, 24 hours, I suppose, almost 24 hours. So that's it for me.
Tell us about your article that has made you famous.
Oh, okay.
The new MUFON.
Okay, he's good.
You got another one?
You have a slide for him for this one? You can go after, I'll do this case real quick.
Okay.
And then if you want to go after Fred, do you have any videos or anything you want to do? I might want to go. All right, I'll give you maybe 5 minutes. All right. All right, so now that we're doing Kansas cases, no, when I did that disposition thing, I saw that they only had like 1 case done. I'm like, yeah, they probably need some help on those cases. So yeah, I volunteered to do some cases over in Kansas as well. So yeah, this one here, I think I got the other slide in there. So yeah, the closest town I think is the Altoona. And the witness, when I was interviewing him, said he was traveling west on K47 at Viola Road in Wilson County, Kansas. And what he thought he saw like a star, but it was hazy. And then his wife was there as well, and pointed out that the other stars were not hazy. So, and then on what I have on the screen right here, there's a flight radar at the approximate time. Didn't seem to be any things to the south, which is the direction that they saw the object in. And then for this case, you go through the CADs, you have a KIG director, and that's the anniversary. And so she kind of wants it says buy the books. So I actually did Fred wrote up a whole thing on how to do cases, step by step. And so I went through the whole thing and, I guess it was good enough for them. So the one thing that I missed on was that it was an approximate time. And so then if it's approximate time, you have to close it as information only because we're not 100% sure this is exactly when it was that they saw the object. But everything else made it look like a unidentified object here. The one unique thing about this was that it hovered there for like about 5 minutes, and then they said the object emitted a digital aura and then disappeared. And I asked about like what color was it? Could give me didn't really get any more details on what the digital aura was around this thing, but I thought that was kind of the interesting part. But the credibility, this guy was a former law enforcement, and then his wife, who also saw it, apparently repeated the story at a family get together, and they all agreed on what the story was. So it seemed like there was a lot of, they both saw the same thing. And the other thing was that his wife was Native American for sure, and he wasn't for sure if he was Native American. There's one of the side things MUFON is kind of looking into is if we have these events, are they Native American, and does that play a role in anything? But yeah, flight radar 24, didn't see any flights. Madar, there's a 318 kind of in the area. There's no data on that one. I think that one was down at the time. This here case, oh yeah, you don't have it on there. It was actually March 16th of this year. So this was when we were having our symposium up here. That's when this case happened. Anything else interesting? Yeah, I used astroviewer.net, didn't see the ISS. It was over on the East Coast. And New Fork didn't have any other reports that day. I also liked Fred on your thing. You had for radio towers, you can look up all the radio towers in the area, and I didn't see any in this area. So that's another cool thing. Other than that, yeah, that's about all I got for this case. The digital aura. That's what I was trying to get out of the witness, but I didn't get any clear answer. Okay, so yeah, they were driving west to east on this road, and the object was seen to the south. So I just kind of put on here what direction they were looking at.
Something like you're seeing an aura around an object, but instead of it being like a solid color, it's more pixelated. And that's how I would interpret that.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, could be more pixelated. I would like to get more from the witness, but yeah. Then other thing was I asked for, could I get is it really an approximate time, or do you mean like plus or minus 5 minutes? Because then this would still all the data would coincide yet. It was just a light in the sky. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this guy, law enforcement, can name off planes, helicopters. Looks at the sky a lot. Has experience. His story matches with his wife's story. So no, it just hovered, and for about 5 minutes, they both saw it. As they're driving along, they didn't get any video, no pictures. And then the digital aura appeared, and then it disappeared. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was. Yeah, I got it at 45-degree angle in the sky, but there's no real reference other than that. It's not invalid. It's just information only because you can't. If they don't have the exact time, you don't know if it was this day. It could have been the day before. It's just approximate. It just is approximate time. So yeah, I couldn't get clarification from the witness. So I might try again.
I told you 11 o'clock in the interview.
Yeah.
Qualified.
I think you'd be fine if it's between a time, because like these flight radars, like I look at like a half hour before to a half hour after. So if it's any time in there. Yeah, but yeah, if you can't, so the witness didn't really want to do like a phone interview, so I'm just texting back and forth, and then they just stop responding after too many questions.
The locations and proximity to the site.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So, yeah, for this one here, I looked at the Madar in Kansas. I think they just have one. I don't think it's too close, but I just checked it anyways, but it was down at the time. So there's no data whatsoever. And then I checked just to make sure. I checked other Madars, and yeah, they had all data. Checked this Madar, no data. So that, yeah, it must have just been down.
May be related. And sometimes it could be related.
Yeah, the Madar guys definitely seem to have some connections on certain cases. Yeah, I looked at a few of those before. I don't know. MUFON's kind of moving away from it, right? The Project Match was canceled.
We were kind of matched up, so to speak.
It went south.
It was we started Project Match and then we got unmatched. So you know the reason why?
No, we just personnel. They couldn't get the information that they wanted, and we were providing, and we just couldn't get it to work. Yeah,
No cooperation.
It was something from the higher ups, I think, kind of decided it.
different sides, people had different opinions on it and stuff.
Or
So
different interpretations of the data.
not that. They had of the use of the data and how much MUFON should do versus how much, the
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's something along the lines of this Madar matching stuff, is it putting too much work on the investigator side, on the MUFON side, and maybe they just didn't want to do this on every case. Is that about correct? Yeah, okay. That's kind of the hints that I got. Yeah, and so I mean, I don't think they said we can't do it. So I mean, I still look at it. So, but you don't want to force people to do it. Yeah.
Things related in this area might be worth looking at. But in the middle of Kansas, they only got one. Then obviously, if we do anything to the investigator, there's no additional work. I'm just curious.
Yeah, you could just look them up and then you can check, because they might be passing through, it only goes so many miles out or whatever. But yeah, just to see if there's a hit. If there's a hit anytime, around when a UFO sighting is, I think it's worth, at least logging it. So yeah, 84 miles. Did you ever talk to him? Oh, okay. Because yeah, I'm interested. We always try to get Fran to come and talk about the Madar units and what they do and how they work and all that. But I don't think it ever gets through. I don't know.
Got over 300.
All right, I'll let Fred go on his article here.
Video up or I don't know.
Do you have a video?
No. Just get a picture of it. I'm just gonna hold this up so I can see it.
Oh,
the cameras right up there.
yeah, the camera's still going, but
Oh, there we go. Here we go. Well,
we got
I'm just kind of tapping on the construct of Nebraska made news on MUFON Journal as one of a case that Dave and I did. The case which Dave and I did. That's good. Yeah, down a little bit. There he is. So yeah, Dave and I had this case, and it was one that was two security guards out in western Nebraska at the Minuteman missile silos, and there was a non-nuclear explosion in one of the silos. So I wrote it up, and about 3 weeks into the case, I was about ready to get close to closing out the case. I found out some more information and exactly the location of the silo, and it was 3 miles into Colorado. So I had to go to, so I had to take my case and contacted the state director of Colorado, Seth Feinstein, I think his name is, and And I said, hey, you guys got a case, you know? And so they took it and they brought in De La Garza, I think Steve De La Garza, or I forget his first name, Chuck De La Garza. And he came in and he happened to be working at Offutt Air Force Base at the time. He was TDY, you know, working there. And so I got with him. So we chatted and filled out the case. So the case is really, again, is the top news case of her December MUFON Journal and page 12. So Dr. Castor said it was well written. He said put Nebraska back in the news. So that's the good point of it. Anyway, all right, that's it. Thanks. Oh, if anybody wants to, if you don't have the article and you don't want it, just give me a write on email. I'll send you the report and the pictures. All right.
All right, next we'll have Josh talk about some of the stuff that he's been seeing out. It came all the way from Norfolk. I think we covered this case. I don't know how many years was that, last year?
Probably 2 years.
But you have all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if you got my email, but my UNO email has been discontinued. So yeah, so I don't have access to any of that stuff anymore. But yeah, there's some really good videos of UFOs and stuff in the area. And the case that he submitted, the MUFON, was an unknown UAV for sure. Had like I think it was an orange light that like zigzagged at different spots. Yeah, so it's pretty clear it was something. But do you mind coming up and you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about some of the stuff?
Yeah, I'm kind of losing my voice, so.
Oh yeah, just a short 5 minutes.
So I'm prior military. I spent about 14 years in the military. I was a pilot for 12 of those, commercial instrument rated. I flew mainly helicopters, Apaches and Chinooks. I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I was also I'm a flight instructor. I have a lot of hours. I don't fly currently, but I'm also my master's is in aeronautical engineering, so I have a lot of knowledge with stuff in the sky and things like that. When I first started seeing these orange orbs, I'll call them, it was when we would fly. And I won't get into a lot as far as our military, like what we would see. And I do work with Ryan Graves a little bit, but he tells a little too much. And I still don't like talking about the reporting procedures we had in the military and what we're required to do. But I can say that we saw them all the time, and they would almost be in a playful sense to us, but it's very classified for us, and we have procedures we have to do after we see them and stuff like that. So that's when I first would see them. So Southern Alabama, Southeastern Alabama, mainly during training. Now sometimes we'd see a couple in Afghanistan. They were mainly far away, almost like they were observing stuff. But when we were in Alabama, we'd be in the middle of nowhere doing some sort of So let's say if it was white, because sometimes they'd be as close as from here to that wall. It would be about the size of that wall if you doubled it, and then but then some would actually come down and be about a basketball size, but they would be almost playful. So they would be, the first time I saw one, I couldn't even talk to my instructor about it. I immediately started to talk to him in the cockpit, and he's like, shut up, and I'm like, okay, like there's this orange ball following us. So it, really freaked me out at first. And he said, we don't talk about it. It's nothing we talk about. You don't talk to your friends about it. You don't talk to your family about it. And that's that. We go into a skiff and we take care of it. That's the Army's to keep it legal. That's the Army's way of dealing with it. Navy has their procedures. I've heard of lots of pilots will say, I never saw anything. We saw them all the time, and it wasn't just an Alabama thing. But they would almost be playful, like they never mess with our instrumentation. We would, like my instructor one time kind of darted at one, and it darted back and then kind of act like it was going to hit us, but it was just like playful. It was really, really odd, really kind of freaky at first, obviously. I mean, because you don't expect anything like that. And I I was really curious about it. My dad has a story, you know, in Kansas. By the way, that last one you did in Kansas, I was born right next to that. My dad was born in Neodesha, right south of Altoona, 5 miles. So I know that area really well. But he also had like this orange orb over him and his friends, and they had a loss of time and stuff when he was running track in college and he was back home. Long story, but so that's the only time I had ever heard about them. But most military guys won't talk about it. We on our instrumentation on our aircraft, we actually don't pick them up. We have lidar, FLIRs, radar. We actually cannot pick these up, but we can tell they're physically there, obviously, and they'll accelerate from 0 to 5,000 miles an hour in seconds. Now, there's no temperature differentiation, and why that's weird is you should, even if it's not hot in our FLIR, we should see that there's a difference between the ambient temperature, and there's not. And that's was always just so weird to me, because how could something be that advanced that has almost, you know, just transparent like that? So when my brother had passed, I came back home. We live in I'm originally from Oklahoma, but my wife and I now live in Norfolk, rural Norfolk, and my brother had passed, and I was driving down the driveway, and I noticed that I'd see him periodically, but I'm talking like one or two a year. But I was driving down my driveway. It's about a third of a mile long, and I saw one like the side of my vehicle, and really freaked me out at first, you know. And I was like, why in the world, you know? And one of my daughter saw it too. So I started seeing him after that, and then I noticed if I went out there and really opened my mind, like was calm and just was like wishful that they would come. And you know, I thought it was seriously like becoming schizophrenic. Like I really thought I'm starting to see these balls fly. And so, you know, I have a lot of my wife's a surgeon, and she works with a lot of really good doctors. And so one of them's a psychiatrist from Harvard. And I had him come out there because he used to see these triangular crafts and thought it was really strange. So he came out there. He's one of the first, you know, and because he's a believer, but he was also, you know, making sure I think that I had my head on. But we had I have it all on video. We had a very weird experience with him, a triangular craft, which I really didn't see much of, and also an orb that came down. And it wasn't until he started getting scared because it kept getting closer and closer, and then that's when it faded away. Because I told him, I said, you got to like remain calm. Now I know it sounds kind of like the Chris Bledsoe story, which I did not read until recently. I read his book. I don't know what to think about that. I know that he had a problem with MUFON there for a while or something, but you know, I don't care about any of that. I just thought it was really weird how because I thought I was the only person that was, you know, experiencing that, and it kind of freaked me out. But as of now, I have thousands of videos. I upgraded my cameras. I have security cameras all around my house, real high tech stuff you'd see it like on a military base. They record 24/7 night vision. I don't obviously review all of it, but I do look to basically when I go out and I film one with my night vision camera, I'll go and watch that video and tie them in. They're speaking from as a pilot, especially a military pilot. If I were in the air and I saw these things, I would report them, you know, as there is an aircraft that we don't know, an unidentified aircraft in the sky, because these things are obviously low, and they're erratic, and they're intelligently controlled, and they're not satellites. They're not anything like that. I mean, I'm sure I've mistaken a couple, but it's just it's really strange. And I still don't like telling people about it, because, you know, you tell people, hey, I can go out there and these orbs will, okay, you know, sure. But so that's kind of where I am. Do, I'm a good one to ask a lot of questions as far as if that would be aviation related or not. I think a lot of it obviously is, especially with these new drones we have. I did have my top security clearance, which some of it I obviously can share as far as drone technology and things like that. I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, I do encourage anybody that I have a lot of land, but I also have I have over 5,000 acres that I'm the only one that goes out on. That's this old lady that has this ranch, but I haven't tried to go out there and actually look up, but it's very desolate and near Orchard, Nebraska. But if anybody's interested, I would highly encourage, people to come out and watch, especially watch my videos. Yeah, I do. I started posting them Facebook. YouTube took off most of them and acted like they didn't, and then they did it again. And they actually messed up a bunch of them. Then I found out a lot of them weren't even showing. One of them had a ton of views and comments, and then that was one of the ones they got. But I think some of them have 5,000-6,000 views, and people are like, "Oh, this is crazy." It's unexplainable to me. It's unexplainable to anybody else. My uncle works for NASA. He was actually he was one of the ones who actually created the autonomous systems that do targeting with AI. But he also used to basically live in a bunker, and he was in charge of the AI port or the extraterrestrial portion of NASA. But he still won't talk to me about it, even though he's retired. He's also an attorney, and he'll tell me little bits about it. But I've been trying to get him to. He wants to come up, and he has kind of different perspectives about extraterrestrials, and says that it's basically alludes to the fact it's us in the future. And that's what he keeps alluding to. He won't tell me directly, but he's like, I'm going to make you figure it out, So. Mm-hmm.
And then one pilot, Air Force pilot, I believe, or maybe it was a Navy pilot,
Ryan, are you talking about Ryan?
He's talking about,
but who also sees it as a threat.
Okay, so everything I hear these other pilots talk about, I can say like 95% of it's crap. Ozondo, is that his last name? Okay.
Talking about flavor, I'm talking about the guy in North Carolina, who every time they would go out and do exercises off of the ship, these pilots were seeing them before. I think it's what he said, and he saw that, and he said it was lower, and he did that.
So I feel like Zondo has been put in that position because they can control him. And we see that all the time in the military. Now Ryan Grace is different. I talk to him all the time still. We have some disagreements as he wants the FBI to come out to my place and do an investigation. I don't want anything to do with that. I'm sorry. I was like, why would I want that? And our whole thing with this was not to get the federal government involved like that. I mean, we're not hiding anything, but they're the ones who are covering it up, and they're the ones who have the power to arrest us.
You've got Dr. Greer and his CD5.
Yeah.
You said, yeah, I had this intention to go look out, and
Yeah.
and then they would come.
Yeah.
You have that capability of doing like
So,
Bledsoe does,
Yeah. So, and I don't even like talking about it, but so my wife was also, a skeptic, and she's, very reasonable, but she also was like, I mean, she didn't tell me she didn't believe me, but I could tell like it was kind of weird. But I had her come out, and I can tell like when they're going to be out there in a way. And I go out there and I, at first I thought I was losing my mind. Even though I had everything on video, but then once I got all these, I mean, it's been 20 plus people now, friends, non-friends, who've come out and verified it. And most of them are shocked into being scared and don't want to talk about it. Because they don't want to say that I was able to do that. I mean, it sounds crazy, and some people think it's satanic. Like it's I'm conjuring the devil, and I don't feel that way. I feel at peace. I feel now I've had I had a couple weird incidents where my wife and I were both out there. We saw these two that were paralleling. A lot of times they're in threes, but they crisscross each other. It's really strange. But we both got like so fatigued that we had to just go in and go to bed. Like we were so tired. I also take my Geiger counter out there with me, and it's the same reading when I know that they're actually around. Microfarads, it's actually 0.25. So when it hits about 0.25, I'm like, there's something in the vicinity, and then I can usually see it. Also, I've noticed there's also something I call a forward observer craft. So whenever there's a new car at my place, I'll say there's a forward observer craft that will come around. And I have all these videos on YouTube because I'll watch for it. And I even told my farmer about it and he thought it was crazy. And we're out there by his combine. And he's like, is that what you're talking about? And I said, yeah. So it comes in and what it does is it does a huge circle around my place. And it's just this big light that comes around and doesn't try to hide, does this huge circle, 360 degrees, and it'll disappear. Then after that, the lower, brighter ones will come in. And I feel like they're more like, I don't want to say telepathic, but I just feel like they put me at ease. You know, it's strange.
Well, the one that goes around.
Yeah. Yes. Every time there's a new vehicle. And so even like if we have a babysitter, I've gone out there with them and had them see it and just say, watch. And I have my parents had driven a different vehicle. And my dad, you know, when my dad goes out there with me, they always show up. So certain individuals, if they're fearful, like my mom thinks it's like satanic, so she don't want anything to do with it. I have a video of her trying to give me a hug, and I'm like, stop, because they had just gotten there. And I was like, well, look, I said, this is the forward observer, and out of nowhere, there's nothing in the sky, and here comes this ball, you know, and I could not explain, and I still can't explain what that would be. And it's, I don't know, it still weirds me out, but I want to get to the bottom of it because it's not just about me, but it's like really weird that why are they hanging around my place? And you know, I don't know if it's the area.
Thing is, you're talking about a lot of feelings, I can sense.
Mhm.
So my question being an ERT guy.
Yeah.
The psychism that goes through your family, through your mother, your father, psychically is hidden.
I'm part native Blackfoot Indian, but you know, that's something where in Oklahoma it's a lot different. Like, you know, we don't even like I guess I would say embrace the culture. It's not like something we push away, but it's different in Oklahoma. Yeah, I think you're right. And well, see, my dad and then my grandpa had seen it. My grandpa was a state representative in Kansas, and he had a bunch of pictures when I was a kid, and he wouldn't show me. And for some reason, he was dealing with a bunch of reports of that area is a very hotbed.
Any vivid dreams or strange dreams, and then to the point of any sleep paralysis.
Okay, sleep paralysis, yes, but I don't know if that's part of maybe PTSD or something. As far as being on ships or anything, no. As far as thinking I saw something.
I mean, you have like really vivid dreams.
Oh yeah, I have extremely vivid dreams, but nothing. Not that I would say. Well, my dreams are so vivid. Sometimes, like I think they're real, and then when I get okay, yeah, I have to sit there for a second and say, okay, was this? You know, tell myself. I mean, it's milliseconds, but I had to tell myself that was a dream. Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time.
That's the whole key.
Yeah, especially when they're around.
Very much like me.
Mhm.
It's like even Dave gets impressions too. So
Mhm.
I talk to him, and you know he's very scientifically oriented. I just listen to him. Dave, you're very attuned, you know. And so
It's almost like something uploaded in your brain.
also this information comes.
Yeah.
So again, it's like you've got these impressions being
Mhm.
captured. You know, you think about it, and all of a sudden you get a dream, or you just intuitively like direct knowledge. You just
Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of like I have a lot of theories on things, especially when they're out there. It's almost like they're giving me, like I feel like that the gray. I'll just be honest and tell you what I feel like I've been told that they're grays. They're not mechanical, but they're basically though they're unisex. So that they were modified, but they're just a really old species. But they are basically not used, but they are more kind of the laborers on Earth. Like remember when the core of the Earth started rotating the other way? They were really prevalent out there. I feel like they're the ones in the orbs, and I feel like they kind of report to what they call the Nordics. And this is just I didn't even know what the Nordics were. I just felt like that they report to these giant white beings, and I started looking it up, and I was like, well, there are Nordics, and there are, you know, that could be, but I feel like the Greys are I try to say spiritually that we're all of God, you know, and that's kind of the mentality I go out there with, You know, I try to say that we're all created, you know, by God, and that's kind of what Chris Bledsoe does as well. Again, I don't know your all's feelings about him. Yeah, yeah. I've seen one thing that was weird, and on my property, and I don't tell a story to very many people, but I might as well, since I don't know who's on camera and who's what FBI agents watching. So yeah, oh gosh, I know they've watched me. So I've hunted my whole life. I'm obviously trained, you know, in small arms very well. I was in combat for a very long time. Before I was a pilot, I was a ground guy. I did counterintelligence. I saw something weird in my yard. I have a lot of acreage, and it was in the tree line, and it looked like giant glowing green eyes that were like blinking. And I thought, first thing that popped in my head, there were two raccoons that were setting up in a tree, but I couldn't explain the eyes. But when I had an AR-15, and when I'd shine the light on them, the eyes would disappear, and I couldn't see anything. And I'd take the light off, and then their eyes would glow. And so for some reason, just without thinking, because it freaked me out. These eyes were, you know, I shot right in between one of the eyes, and it fell. And the other one goes, and I said, "Oh my God, that is something like that's not a raccoon." These things were huge, and so I mean, they would have had to have been over 7 feet tall. So that one looked down, and I went inside, and I was so freaked out because I have neighbors, but they're far away. I thought maybe the neighbor kid, or even though there are no kids, I was like maybe their grandson or something came over and they're playing a trick on me, and I just shot somebody. Yeah. And so I was scared. I was scared to death. I saw something that totally, yeah. Oh, I heard it. I heard it fall. And that other one, what freaked me out was the other one looking up, looking back and forth, and then the blinking of the eyes is what really freaked me out. Never, I always heard people say, "Oh, they're glowing red eyes and stuff," and I was always like, you know, laugh at them. That really freaked me out. I seriously could not leave. I could not go out there and check for about 6 or 7 hours. Finally, messaged my neighbor, the closest neighbor, and said, "Your grandkids weren't out there, were they?" She's like, "Oh no, heavens no, they wouldn't go on your property." So finally got the guts to do it later. Didn't see anything. I did take a Geiger counter out there months later, elevated, weirdly elevated just in that spot where that tree was. There was a big tree. They would have had to have been over 7 feet tall. Now, I don't, you know, again, it's just like telling people you can conjure up orange orbs. Saying you shot something like that. First off, people are like, "Why would you choose them?" I don't know. It freaked me out. I mean, it was like just this fear came over me at the time, and it wasn't. Those didn't present like a friendly. Yeah, it felt like a threat to me, and you know, I just felt like, and I do have a raccoon problem out there. For some reason, I was like, you know, I just thought they were setting up in a tree, and their eyes were 10 times bigger. But I would say that was one of the weirdest experiences. And then I did have one loss of time thing. My wife found me, and I was declothed on the couch, which I never do. And I had camera equipment and stuff all near me, and she could not wake me up. So she, you know, as a physician, she actually called the fire department because she couldn't get me up. And she's like, "What were you doing?" I said, "I don't know. I remember being outside, and that's when I think I had told you this, Kyle, the car doors locked on automatically, and that really freaked me out. And I was like, that's something I push or something." Then they did it again, and they locked automatically without a key fob on me. And what'd you say? I was outside the car. I was kind of far away from it, and the fact that it locked and then it was making weird ticking noises, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. That was the same night. I lost my phone, couldn't find it. I went to search for it on my computer, and it was in a field about 2 miles away, and it was bouncing around. And I said, "What the heck?" I just thought, "Oh, it's a glitch." But then I couldn't find my phone, and later on, I was nowhere near this field. Found it out you know, not too far, about 100 yards, but in a field, which I was not out there. And then the fact my wife said that she could not wake me up, that really shook her, because I'm not a light sleeper. I don't fall asleep naked on the couch. And that's, yeah, that was just a very weird experience. But it's just those things. I've never had any other weird. That would have been from probably about midnight until 7 or 6 a.m. No, but see that's a good question. So when I think about it, I get this horrible feeling on my stomach, and all I think about are these tall, disgusting looking beings, and they make me sick to my stomach thinking about it, but I never saw them, but that's what my mind says I saw or something. But yeah, I remember I very rarely get scared. Like a guy could be coming through the halls right now, shooting up the place, and my anxiety wouldn't go up just because I'm so desensitized to things like that. And that still gives me this nasty feeling in my stomach. No, not that I know of.
You got black lights, do the
Mm.
black lights, see if any marks around the end. That's what you do.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know, I mean, I do have a shrapnel thing, so I do have like a weird magnetic thing, but that was obviously I know what that is. What'd you say? Yeah, so I have one that's actually from the military, and it is a heavy duty, it's a weapons mounted FLIR. And I also have a actual true night vision scope from the military. So more of, modern, when I say modern, mid 80s to mid 90s. And I also have on my camera, I got basically it's as good a night vision as you can get for a camcorder. But then I do have a handheld. Yeah, I have also a FLIR on my rifle scope, but I go around my hand, and these orbs do not have any sort of heat.
Well, that's what I wanted to
Mhm.
ask about the helicopter.
Yeah.
What kind of model was it in comparison?
Oh gosh. I wouldn't know specifically with F-18s. I'd say okay, in the Apache, we would have had the same as far as targeting systems. We would have the same as F-22s even. So because I flew the longbow, and so that was the baddest of the bad helicopters. So they would have target acquisitions in the ballpark of
Spectrum, frequency,
yeah.
how they're actually visualized,
Hmm.
pick that up, whether the data has different requirements for visualization of the flares.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the color that you're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an orange, yellowish.
4,000 degrees Kelvin
Hmm.
temperature perspective,
Hmm.
even astronomical color related to temperature.
Okay.
So you might not actually see, because the Tic Tac that they
Mhm.
saw, the physical object.
Yeah.
Seeing either plasma or whatever the
Hmm.
device is that creates the color,
Hmm.
more than likely to not see anything cooling corona around the outside.
Yeah, I just figured as far as a difference in temperature of the ambient air. That's what really throws me because there's nothing. Even weather balloons. I mean, will have a significant difference. Um, that's what really threw us, and nothing. Nothing will pick it up. Nothing will balance. But it's a very you cannot see through it. It's definitely you can't. I don't want to say it's rotating, but it's almost it does have a little bit of movement when it stands. Almost now when it's moving through the air, it does have a little bit of shape shifting, and it does. Sometimes I've seen them blue and stuff like that, but that's mainly when they're traveling at high speeds. So that's what else I'll say about it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like too, they conjure up when they get in these groups, they are doing something for energy. And I feel like that they're because it seems like they can never operate alone or they choose not to operate alone, or it's one of Newton's other laws as far as, one has to be moving at the time another one moves. Because the way they crisscross and stuff, it's very odd. Because even if one's moving way up here comes another one zooming over here, and they always crisscross. Or they'll come up and just appear and then they'll disappear, usually in threes.
Yeah, I've noticed that around here, we have a lot of light.
Yeah.
Physical,
Yeah.
emanating type of light.
Mhm.
They're physical 8-foot across orbs.
Yeah.
Spheres, I should say, white, little white. They come in groups of 3s, 4s, very rarely do you see them in the channel water.
Yeah, yeah. I think a couple times maybe.
You were outside and you don't remember going in the house at all?
No, I don't remember going in the house.
So you were outside?
I was outside. It was cold, and no, I don't. I remember looking on the other side of our pool and where it's nothing but woods, and hundreds of acres. And I remember in that same tree line where I had shot the one. I just again, it was like this horrible pit in my stomach feeling, and then next thing I know, my wife's like, I called the fire department, and I'm like, what? The orbs, yes. I've never seen one during the day. I've seen one where it was not completely dark, but I also usually only see them um, past like 2, 3. I don't see them like right, which is actually, better, I think, because I'm not looking at satellites that are reflecting off the sun a lot of times. So and I know that's not what I'm looking at anyway. I mean, I flew for many, many years. I mean, I hope I can distinguish a satellite, but yeah, to answer your question, I do not. I know that Chris Bledsoe, like, I've seen it. He has them during the day. I've asked for him to pay. Can you come during? Never seen anything during the day. And then as far as the going in there, yeah, just the pit of my stomach, sick feeling, unable to wake me up for about 15 minutes.
When she appeared,
Mhm. It was 15 minutes of her shaking me, and didn't know why I was naked. It had said all my because I had like all this camera gear and stuff that I don't even remember taking out, was actually stacked up on the back of the couch. And this is in our basement. And she came down because she didn't know where I was, and then because I usually would have been up in bed around 11 or 12, and she woke up that morning and she's like, "Where are you?" And then she couldn't wake me up, and that really shook her. But yes, that was the only missing time thing that I can think of. Her and I both, like I said, been very nauseated from at the same time when we see some orbs, and I feel like it's just maybe the radiation, even though it's not at levels that would be dangerous.
There could be like missing time. You don't even know that you have missing.
Yeah.
Both of you are, then you have the
Mhm.
feeling around the traffic coming back, But the concept is a lot of times you come out back from an experience like this,
Mm-hmm.
either your clothing's inside out or backwards.
Yeah, or off. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know where it was either. Mm-hmm.
You're sleeping someplace you don't sleep
Yeah.
normally, so.
And the nanny, here's the crazy. The nanny was coming like 30 minutes later, so if she wouldn't have came down, I would have been naked on the couch for the nanny. So it obviously is something I would never do. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Yeah.
You don't normally do this.
Yeah.
And then you wake up just before the nanny comes, which
Mhm.
again is like, did you fully awake? I mean, were you highly conscious, or were you dark? Did you feel a sense of drowsiness?
I didn't know what was going on at first. As soon as I just remember her over the top of me with this horrible look, and I remember just going, I almost reached up because I thought someone. I felt like I didn't. Yeah, I was groggy. So I was unaware kind of what had happened. I was groggy, and I just did not really for a couple seconds not know where I was, and I didn't know who she was. And that was, like I said, sometimes that happens, but it's usually in the millisecond. Like I have to think about, okay, that was a dream. But this was the one and only time. No spaceships. Yeah. Yeah.
Reorient yourself to like, oh, this is me.
Mhm.
I'm in the room. Like, what time is it? What year is it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was really, my joints were sore. That's the other thing.
Cameras stacked above the couch. You check the cameras and find out whatever video or information you had on the camera.
So I probably have like 3 different ones in my night vision and stuff, and I kind of keep it. It's like I was going to take it out, but that night I was not going to take it out. So I usually have it in one of my offices downstairs. I never looked at I have looked at the like all that footage eventually, but I didn't look for specifically anything weird. Now I do have an outside camera that was facing where I was, and all that it really showed, and they do move and all it really showed was I was around my truck, and I was weirded out, and then it kind of shows me go like this, and then the camera doesn't follow me to the side, which weird, but I'm sure it happens, and then nothing, no noises because it has audio, no lights, nothing like that. No, nothing, and that's weird. Is like the doors are too thick, heavy doors that you'd have to unlock, and I didn't even go out that way to return that way. You'd have to unlock those doors, and so it was so weird. So they were up in the floor on by the dining room by underneath the yeah on the main level of the home, and my underwear and everything. It was like, it wasn't, they weren't really disheveled and stuff, but I don't know. There was some other weird, it felt like my jean cuffs were wet. Like I'd been walking outside, and I was like, well, maybe it's still wet from maybe earlier, but no, I would never lean like that because these are very nice cameras, especially the night vision scopes. I have them on these very nice tripods, and I wouldn't put them like that, and they were leaning precariously on that. And so she knew right away when she saw that. She's like, what in the world happened, And then I had all my stuff stacked up like I never stacked things up. I'm more disorganized, and this was perfectly stacked up. No, I don't remember any of that, and it's the one time that I say it freaked me out. I don't remember even wanting to take it out that night. The car door thing really kind of freaked me out. I try not to get, most of the stuff never gets my anxiety up, but that was really bothering me because I was like, because I kept seeing the orange orb, and then I don't know if I mentioned that, and then the car was locking and stuff, and I was like, that's really freaky. So I made sure I didn't have the keys. I think I found the key fob, and I put it inside, shut the door, and then it did it again. I have one of them on video, and then there was this clicking in the engine, and I was like, this is just bizarre. And then there's one other thing I'll say is there are two different times the orbs were as close as the wall to me when I was driving. When I choose to ignore them, I'm like, forget it. And it's almost like they got pissed off. Two different times. People always say this about Bigfoot, and I think they're liars. And now I don't. I get out with my phone, and I'm like, I'm gonna get it in record. It's showing recording. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. Sit there and got it, for about 5-10 seconds. Took off. Go to the recording. It's gone. Next time happened. Hopped out. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't happen this time. I'm hitting record 1,000 times on my phone. Do it all the time. Wouldn't record. And so people always say, "Oh, I saw Bigfoot," and it wouldn't. I'm always like, "Okay," but that was some heavy electronic interference. I feel like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she. I mean, I don't know how she really truly felt, but she knows that like I'm one of those that I don't want to be in the limelight, and I don't. This is something like I really don't want to be involved in, but I've kind of felt like I've gotten, inducted in a way. Like I feel like it's my responsibility now. So she was just kind of like, I believe you, but obviously I wanted her to go out. And when she did, she's one of those that just thinks she has no words for it. We talk about it a lot. I mean, we talk about it almost daily because it's something we can go out there and I'm like, why do these things do? And we can't figure it out. And that's why I wanted to reach out to like Chris Bledsoe just because what does he do? Why did he start doing that? Why did it happen with him? His stories are really weird and more, fantastical, I guess, than mine. Like as far as, him talking to this lady and, I mean, I'm not saying that can't happen, but I'm saying, I don't have anything like that. But I just wonder what if I'm sure he'd be interested in talking to me if we both are able to go out there and conjure up this stuff, then oh yeah. So I'd say 3. I always tell them, I'm like, don't get freaked out if you're outside playing with the kids because sometimes these things will kind of come around. I said and so I kind of talk them into it. Most of them are pretty cool about it. But whenever I always walk them out like the first time they babysit, and it's always the same thing. I'll be like, I just want you to see that since your car's here, you're going to have an observer come around. And so even when they walk back out to their car, the observer will come out. But it's also when they first get there, or maybe both, I don't know. No, they're actually pretty cool. I mean, but one just joined the military. She's kind of a tomboy. The other one, others, they're like UFO hunters now. I mean, it's weird. They go around and they think they see them all the time. No, I've taken numerous physicians out there. I've taken some military friends. Again, everybody. Of course, I'd be skeptical if somebody said, you know, I'd be a little worried about them if they said, "Hey, Josh, I can conjure up these floating objects." I'd be like, "Okay, well, let's go." I'd want to believe them, you know, and but now I'm like, gosh, I don't know what that's about, you know, and I don't even know if it's anything with me special. It's maybe the area, even though I saw them in the military, but yeah. Yeah. What'd you say? Yeah. Now I lived in Colorado, very rural Colorado for a while, and I had seen a couple. So I had seen a couple during that time frame before my brother had passed. And when my brother had passed prematurely, it was a hospital accident in Oklahoma. For some reason, that's when I like that one followed me. Like, hey, I also have an 8-year-old daughter who says she was in the car that one time when she saw one. So she has been taking pictures out her window, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. She showed me her camera, and made my stomach drop. It's like they come outside her window and hover outside her window, and they're more like about like this size. And I say, don't like they, you know, I get a lot more protective with her, and I'm like, you know, don't be messing with them. Don't, you know. I said they're friendly, but let's not take pictures with your little camera phone. What'd you say? Yeah, 4 little girls. 4 little girls, 2 identical twins that are 6, and then a 5-year-old, and then the 8-year-old. They are now, because they've all been out there. We take them out now, and we'll sit back and we'll talk to them about the stars. And I have this like constellation deal, and I'll show them, and I teach them, and they'll be like, "What's that?" So they help us identify them.
Be good to start talking with your poor daughter.
Mhm.
Dreams. Maybe they have dreams. And
Chloe, my oldest does, and she says that they come and talk to her. She has all these, but she says you know, who knows what to believe on her. And I'm always like, I tell. Well, when I was a kid, I thought I saw this one staring at me through. I didn't even know what an alien looked like, a gray. I had we had a 2-story house way out in the country. I thought I saw this thing staring at me. I couldn't move for like 5 hours in my bed. Seriously, I was so scared. But I thought it was this alien just staring at me, and I could see it. And that was like something I saw as a kid. Well, she has these stories where they come and they try to get her to go with her all the time. And she goes, "I can't because my dad." And they're like, "Oh, you're dad." But she says they talk like, and she does. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you understand them? She's like, because they'll say some English, and I said, "Well, are you not scared?" She's like, "No, I'm not scared at all." And she's like, but I tell them that my dad won't let me, and they say your dad won't care. I said, "Well, why don't you get him to come like talk to me?" Or, you know, I have no idea. But, you know, it's just, she has these crazy stories, which we don't watch like UFO specials on TV or anything for them, because I would think maybe at that age it would freak me out. But I make sure that I'm sure they pick up stuff, you know, but I don't. Greenish gray, I think she said. Did you say gray? Yes, yes. I haven't really gotten to details. She's a really good drawer. I should have her draw some. I'm sure because she loves talking about it. I just try not to feed it because I don't know how much of it's made up. But for me not to have ever said that they don't speak English, you know, like perfectly like us, you know, I would figure she would say, "Hey," they said, "Hey, where's your dad?" So for her to have that weird voice, I'm like, how do you even know that? We don't watch Alien.
that's very feminine.
Yeah, because like, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Has videos on it, has whatever they allow me to have. All the other ones they've taken off, but I've downloaded all the interesting ones on my computer, but I still have some on there that show what I'm talking about. You can't. Well, I mean, I think there are a couple on there that are pretty good. I even have like a 17-minute one or 15-minute one where I'm narrating after the fact, because I set my camera up. Whenever I'd walk away, it would come out, and I was basically saying, "This is I don't understand," and I just kind of go. I'm kind of ad-libbing like my experience, and I don't understand, why it's doing this, and it's probably really boring, but it's interesting to watch what they're doing, how these things will come out and then turn into one. And so it's a CROISE, crusade, if it means crusader. And you should be able to find it, and I can give it to Kyle and yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah. There were some, I was gonna, let's see. Is this,
Yeah, it's their own YouTube.
there's some that, I don't know how many I had made actually public. I got them out there for a while and I just wanted to get as many up there as I could. How do you search for an individual?
You should be able to type your name in, maybe.
Let's see. I can always.
Do you use tags? No, you don't.
Oh yeah, I do. UFOs in Nebraska orbs. I would say would be probably.
Yeah, you might get it. Oh, it's all one. Yeah.
I think that's one of mine right there. 3.4 thousand views. I just hate hearing my voice on here and looking like a.
Well, you don't have to.
Okay, so here's me out there. Here's one coming up. The videos don't do them justice at this time. Most of these I don't have my good cameras yet, but something had just flashed me when I came in. Sorry about the horrible. This is probably one of the first ones I saw. Let's see. I don't know if it's freezing them.
Oh, it's
It's
they're
just
taking
low.
it down.
Yeah, probably.
I never heard of YouTube taking down random.
Oh
UFO
gosh,
videos.
you would not believe it takes forever because we didn't have super fast internet and
Oh,
because we over and they had taken. Okay, so here comes one right here. I'm hitting it with the light. And so here comes another. See that one just appear above it? And no flashing or anything like that. Sometimes they look like they're blinking, but or just like sprinkling, like whatever you'd want to use. But so I'm watching them, and then this other one should probably disappear. I don't know if that other one behind it's yeah. So those are disappearing, and then we'll see what else. I'm not. I think this is one right here that appears, and so it's like has the energy now. See how it's bigger than those other two? Yeah, it's weird. They do that. I feel like that's how they kind of get the energy. So, um, I hit them and sometimes they do like this weird flashback or they'll turn directions at 90-degree angle. Do they ever what? Yeah, so like when they when they get really close in proximity with each other, I feel like they get brighter and brighter. But see, sometimes they'll get really close. So I mean, if you look at the terrain right here, they will get within a mile and a half, and I know that for a fact because I've actually driven around to confirm it, to make sure that So here's one moving sideways, and the camera doesn't do it. And here's the other one popping up. The camera doesn't do it justice because they're bright. Yeah, yep, and they're bright and orange, and you can't tell in this, but they're bright and orange, and those are only about a mile and a half, and I'd say they're probably less than 10,000 feet. What do you? Oh, I'm shooting a laser at it to try to get them to respond.
you mean the red lights?
The wind.
Oh no, yeah, those are wind turbines that are probably 25 miles away. Yeah, they just look like they're a lot closer. So here's another one. It's kind of they usually aren't this uniform, but they. Oh yeah, so within a mile and a half. So and I've actually flanked them before to make sure. So you see how they're kind of coming in, and then I try to get them to basically sit there, and I'll be like, flashback, and that's when a lot of times they'll do that kind of glow thing at me, but they'll stop, they'll do 90 degrees, they disappear, they'll form into one. Oh yeah, and three will form into one. That's a video that I have on a short. It's really weird, but they just they'll hang out, and again they don't look that close because this isn't one of my really good cameras. Oh no, if I wish a regular plane to fly fly over even at like 25,000 feet, you'd see that would be way up. Here. Yeah, that one just powered. Yep, and it's like they hit me back with that. And I also use what do you call it, UV light a lot.
He goes to Gatesville and he does it down on the T City Ranch.
Sounds familiar.
Gatesville.
Where is he? Okay, yeah. So he's able to, he does that as well. Here's the power up. So let me see if, so this is kind of a long video. I'll see what else I have on here. I yeah. A lot of times I use a laser just to try to get them to flashback. And it's also if I go out there and I'm trying to get them to come, a lot of times I just kind of do a circle that's like, hey, this is where I am. So see how they're going opposite directions now, and then this one's stationary. And I'm trying to adjust the camera. I don't know cameras that well, so I'm trying to figure out what the best look for it is. But see, all these are appearing now, just out of nowhere, and they're going in different directions, and they're some will speed up and slow down, but the way they can disappear with no cloud coverage is unbelievable. And again, if I was flying with that, you'll see, you know, the jetliners are way high above that. Let me see if I can find one of those other ones real quick. How do I get out of there? Let me find orbs.
Yeah, we'll probably be going a little overtime today. Then we gotta leave at noon. It's about noon now, so.
Now, I always thought these at first were, you see these appearing right here, almost like this is a security camera. It just has this weird ring on it right now, but I almost thought these were some sort of I don't know, like a meteorite or something, but I don't know if this is the video. They actually then you'll see them switch direction and actually get in a big group. Let me see here. No, I think that I think if the, you know, FBI wanted to come out, you know, and I said no, you know, obviously, I don't know if you guys can see this one. See how they're crisscrossing each other. And what'd you say? No, when I told Kyle about it, I was kind of flooding him with stuff, and I think his email address went down, and I think we kind of he kind of lost, or maybe it was on some of his old email, but I don't know what part of the year that was, but I did investigate it with like some camera software I have that shows whether it's planes. Obviously I look at the flight radar data and satellite data. So hear them popping up and crisscrossing. And again, they're not out there before I go out there. So I can look at that security camera before I go out there, and it's not there. And then I go out there, and this is what they do. It's almost like they dance around. And I
All
don't.
right, well, your 5 minutes are up.
Oh, is that all I had to? Hey, that was the first time I've ever
No,
gone overtime.
Usually we end at noon, but we obviously everybody wants to talk about drones, I think. So I'm gonna let Greg. He has some stuff, and then he's got to leave. So
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'll let him go.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can
Oh, I
pull
think
that.
you closed
If
it.
not, I'll make sure that Kyle.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, awesome. Any questions anybody has, I'd love to answer them to the best of my ability. Yeah, I have no motive in this except I want to find out, you know, what these things are, and I want to find out how we can contact. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said it was from the future.
He says so how he hints it to me is he'll never just tell me an answer to something. He always makes me try to figure it out. And he'll be like, what do you think it is? And one time I said, okay, I felt like a lot of times when we were flying, this was Miss so-and-so's
Which one are you on?
class going
Go
back
back
into the future to watch what a twin rotor aircraft
Stop
looks like.
that one right
He
there.
goes, bingo. So because of that, he was basically saying it's almost like a
And
field
then
trip they're going back to watch.
There's a bunch of stuff that you supplied that you can talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
I'll just leave after that.
Yeah.
No, he
And-
just said, That would be, he goes, what's the first thing? And for some reason that popped in my mind and he said bingo. So he has said too that there's no way there's interstellar galactical travel. It's impossible.
Optimize.
Seeing from his NASA. He says it's absolutely impossible. And he won't explain to me not in person. So I'm very curious on him. He's supposed to come out this winter sometime. And I really hope he opens up about it.
It's not that
He
slide.
is just now.
Okay, you can
quit
look
working
around.
for, he's been with Boeing or these other companies, but he's owned by NASA. And he is,
That
he
one
would
right
be
there.
the guy to talk to you about it. And the fact that like, you know, I'm privy to conversing with him, but the fact he won't tell me anything drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So,
All right, we have to move on here for just, I mean, we can talk, for the next 45 minutes if we want. I just want to get the Greg stuff so he's got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to, this one has to do with Nebraska and the Nebraska drones, not the current drones, but it relates. And it's something John Barta sent out the video on it. Anyway, this happened in late 2019. Chief Chris Grooms of Ord, Nebraska. He was a sheriff's deputy at the time in that Valley County in Nebraska. And he said he started to receive 911 calls from ranchers that their cattle and horses were being harassed. When Deputy Grooms responded with the sheriff, they found that the object would parallel the road around 60 feet in altitude and stay ahead of them. And the objects and drones seemed to be toying with them. Another time, Deputy Grooms was responding to 11 to 15 drones harassing this town of Scotia. As he got
We also saw a big orange orb. No, we also had a big orange orb covering over it.
Yeah.
We've seen
Yeah.
in order.
In orb, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 years ago, but
Yeah.
Fred, you've got that up where we can watch it. It's an hour and 10-minute video, and boy, is it interesting.
Right.
different people giving their impression. I agree with you. But
That was a 2 hour. Richard Doyle and a half hour. David Sheehan.
Yeah. Right. And
Bassett, yeah.
all right.
Bassett talked about, and what's on there too.
Right.
And then a remote viewer.
Yeah.
Birdie, George, you know, have a remote viewer. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
All right. Another time, Deputy Grooms was responding to 1115 drones harassing the town of Scotia. As he got to near the town, he noticed a bright red-orange light in the sky at around 150 feet in altitude and 3/4 of a mile distance. It quickly, in 2 to 3 seconds, covered the distance, passing in front of his cruiser still at 150 feet altitude and from about 50 yards ahead of him. It quickly disappeared to his right. As it left, the 1115 drones around the town of Scotia also left. He said that it left a contrail behind it. Followed up investigation showed that there was nothing sent out by Offutt, the State Patrol, or National Guard. It got so the ranchers wanted to shoot them down, but were persuaded otherwise. One night, there were around 50 near the town of Arcadia. These are all towns in Valley County there. There were never anything found in stopped vehicles during the investigation. Neighboring county deputies chased the objects at 120 miles per hour, and they still could not catch up with them. Normal drones don't fly that fast, that's for sure. But they stopped and tried to shine a spotlight on them, and the object shined its own spotlight on them, covering around 200 to 300 yards as it was if in daylight. A woman and her son had an object come down close to the windshield and paced them for about at 30 miles per hour and then left. And the woman described the object as having props. So in this case, it was a smaller object, smaller than the orange one he saw that was the size of SUV or something. This whole incident happened over a 2-week period in other counties as well in Nebraska. And this all goes along when they were seeing all that at the same time frame. They were seeing all those in western Nebraska and eastern Colorado. They were seeing all those drones. And there's probably so many more stories in so many more counties that somebody should just compile it all into a book. So.
Like 100. There were like 100.
Yeah. Right. And the video is like, this video is like 30 minutes long. I just kind of wanted to summarize it a little bit. Yeah. Oh.
Then I, the other one, Fred put out 2 hours and 10 minutes long or whatever.
Right.
I watched the last 20 minutes just before I came, but that's with all the guys that are in the drones.
Right.
But this one just blew me away.
Right. Kyle, do you want to do your part of it?
Take care. Good seeing everybody.
Yep. See ya.
You've seen the mysterious drone sightings You've seen the mysterious drone sighting.
1 second. Let some of these people out here. You can take off, yeah. Let some people out of here if they want to go. Doing a lot of side conversation. Look.
You've seen the mysterious.
January 11th.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I got a vehicle to get out there too, so.
All right, yeah, we probably got like you can take off if you want. Yeah, we got like 5 more minutes, just covering drone stuff. Some of the drones that are out there. This is another case over the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I don't know if people have seen this one, but they also talk about some detailed stuff. So I'll probably play this.
Mysterious drone sightings over the weekend. They started in the Northeast, but as of Friday, those drone sightings are now here in the Buckeye State.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base had to temporarily shut down the airspace because of drones flying in that area. WCPO 9 News anchor Brett Pagansky shows us why there is now national security concerns.
Use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation.
What you're hearing is a reported radio call between Wright-Patterson Air Force Base's tower and a medical transport aircraft, which was obtained by the media outlet The War Zone. WCPO confirmed Wright-Patterson Air Force Base temporarily closed the airspace for 4 hours Friday because of drones flying over and around the airspace. The base said leaders determined none of the drones impacted base residents, facilities, or assets.
Obviously, that's a big concern for national security is like you have these FPV drones, people can just fly them around in unrestricted airspace.
Some like Ryan Muda from Fairborn are wondering if the sighting at Wright-Pat is related to the various drone sightings in the Northeast, which has resulted with investigations by the FBI and Homeland Security.
We have not seen any foreign, we know of no foreign involvement with respect to the sightings in the Northeast, and we are vigilant in investigating this matter.
When they see these objects in the sky and they don't know what they are.
Angel Aerial Systems in Evendale has been testing its drones that look like something out of this world.
A lot of confusion, I think, right now because people are maybe mistaking manned aircraft for drones.
They're designed to help law enforcement with investigations.
So you're going to see more activity after the holiday season, so don't be surprised by that.
Former Cincinnati police officer and drone pilot Steve Saunders said drones are here to stay, but said while there's mystery surrounding these sightings, you should never take matters into your own hands if you see one flying.
People think of things like shooting a drone down, completely unsafe, very illegal. Don't be pointing laser pointers or things like that towards a drone.
In Evendale, Brett Bagansky, WCPO 9 News.
All right, I thought that one was interesting. Shared from the Madar guys. This one here is a map that was put together with AI stuff. I just got a timeline from different news sources and threw it in there, and then it kind of like made out a map of like different events. And so you have like one where the drones first appeared at, and then they had the two FAA issues flight restrictions over a Trump National Golf Course. That was November 22nd. Third, it was over here. FFA issues flight restrictions over the how do you say that? Pickentine Arsenal. That was November 25th. Fourth is November 26th. Drone sightings diverts helicopter rescue near Raritan Valley Community College. And then 5 up top, Morris County resident spots drones near Boonton Reservoir. That's December 1st and December 2nd. Then the 6th down here, the New Jersey residents report a drone crash near Route 206 in Hillsborough, December 13th. And then 7 and 8, these weren't sightings, but the mayor addresses drone concerns on the 14th. And then the 17th, the New Jersey mayor links drone sightings to missing radioactive material. So I've kind of been out of the loop, so I just wanted to put something together and get it out there, kind of like the overview of all the stuff that was going on out there. And there's more stuff that I feel like I need to throw on there too, because there's just so many sightings. But it'd be nice to have something to like kind of like put them all together in the one place. At our Thursday meetings, we talked about flight radar and how they didn't cover drones, but flight radar does cover some drones. This is one I found. I just looked it up, and you can filter it out for drones. So this is one out in California that I don't know, is just doing loops around this airport, probably testing out something. And then I found another one down in Texas that was going from one city to another city. But I'm just looking at to see what it was exactly. But yeah, it went over 200 miles in about 1.5 hours, and it had a max speed of 150 knots. So this is just because not everybody knows exactly what are the capability of these drones, how far can they go, what's the speed of them. And these are just the ones on flight radar. So the ones that they're talking about in New Jersey that don't use traditional transponders are obviously a different kind. But this here is the one that flight radar pointed out. So there's a sprayer drone, used to spray fields and stuff, and we see them around here in Nebraska too. And then on Madar, we had another guy who, I don't know, it could be a random anybody, but he was talking about that he's one of the guys who knows what the drones are. He was saying that they're nuclear detector drones, and I'm just going to kind of breeze through this. If you're on the video, you can stop and read through them all. But I think he also talked about, so he says they're used to inspect nuclear sites, but these ones are different. They use, I think it's microwave comms, so that's why it's like in a different transponder radio. Do you know anything about these things?
We lost basically a suitcase from Ukraine that they had from one of their bioweapons labs.
And they think it's in that area?
They think it's lost somewhere in that area, and they have no idea, so they're looking for any radiological trace of it. And it could, they could take out all of New York City with something like that. Suitcase.
Yeah, so a possibility is that they're looking for a bomb. I guess we don't really know anything, but yeah, we have at least 2 people who kind of think it could be a possibility. These are the rest of the tweets that this guy put out. But yeah, they're going in like a swarm fashion to do like a grid sweep of the area to see if they can pick up anything, basically. And I guess the other part that he puts on there is that the reason that they're not disseminating any information to the public is kind of like a PSYOP thing to see like how people react to seeing these things out there. And so, yeah, that's I think that's all I had. We have more stuff in here, but we'll wrap up the meeting. Next meeting, it will be on the 18th of January. It might be a Zoom only meeting because we didn't get this room, and then the room down there is locked off. So I'm going to try again at the library to see if we can go over there. Otherwise, it'll be a Zoom only meeting, just so everybody knows. And Greg has a meeting on the 4th. That's it. That's early in the month. 12 to 2. I didn't put the location, but that's over in Ames, right? Usually. Des Moines, Iowa. All right, to get that out there. All right. Well, that'll wrap up this meeting. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you later.